Call the meeting. Camera, take silent roll call, and then on to agenda approval. Somebody wants to make a motion.
I move to approve the agenda.
Been moved and seconded to approve the agenda. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Next up is the Chanute Unified School District 413 Strategic Plan. The mission of the Chanute Public Schools is to educate and prepare students for lifelong success. The vision is to provide an unparalleled educational experience that empowers and inspires students to reach their full potential. We are going to move on to student success, or student recognition, tonight. So next up is staff recognition.
Really under staff and patron recognition. So I'm going to let Mr. Callahan, are you going to be the one doing the honors?
Sure.
Okay, I'm going to let Mr. Callahan start with the FFA Animal Science Committee recognition.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for allowing us some time to come talk to you. Laura, sorry, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Most of you all know Caitlin LaHaye. She would have loved to have been here tonight, but she's home with sick kids. But I am joined by Lauren Fry. She's our student teacher from K-State this spring, and she is already doing a fantastic job in the classroom. Has already taken over some classes and is doing great. But first of all, thank you guys for all the support for this project. It was back in May that we finally got the approval to move on, and I know that this conversation has been happening for years, since before I even got here, for 5 or so years at least, and I've only been here 3, so I know this was long before I was here. And you know, I'm not originally from here, but I am proud to call Chanute home now because of the support and recognition and all the wonderful things that happen with our ag program here that are made possible by our school board and support. Our program has come a long way in a very short time. It was started in 2018 and has grown to become a 2-teacher program. And obviously with this large facility project that would not have happened without the help of some of our committee members tonight. I'll start with Amy Hendrickson and Ron Flowers. If you'd like them to come up or just stand up. I mean, I'm sure you all know most of them, but
we'll just stand.
These two were our co-chairs of the committee charged with the fundraising and actually making this project happen. So they have put a lot of hours and time into this project, and we are extremely grateful for that. We also have Mandy Collins, who has contributed a lot to the project. Ross Hendrickson, Karen Jarrett, Jonathan Johnson, Cody Moyer, obviously some of these are not here tonight, Patty Ann Sanborn, Angie Stanley, Derek Wagner, Mr. Murray, and Jesse Fewens have helped out on the administration side along with Mr. Kester, and then rounding out the committee was Caitlin and myself. We'd also like to recognize the foundation, the USD 413 Foundation, for making the funding and donation part of this project possible. So again, thank you for your support of our ag program and FFA chapter. I'm grateful.
And truly this committee that's up is where the work happens. So the committee has met for several years.
And they're not.
Yeah,
So
over this project,
so
yeah, continue to meet
to figure out the finishing touches, and I'm sure that all of these people up there will remain involved post this building opening and post everything happening to help continue to move the FFA program as a whole forward. So we're certainly grateful to all of the work that all of these people have put into it, and really just blessed to have the support that we have throughout the community. So
Absolutely.
It's happened because of them, for sure.
Thank you.
All right, we also tonight would like to recognize the donors, not all of the donors of the project, but the large donors of the project who really made this a possibility. So I'm going to let Mr. Flowers, Ron Flowers, talk about and recognize the donors, of which later in the evening tonight we'll have some naming business to take care of. So.
Right, thank you. So, and I would certainly echo everything that Zach just said. This has been really a community project all the way from the support of, the school district, Principal Murray, Dr. Kester, the foundation, you all as board members, et cetera. And it's just wonderful to see it all finally come to fruition. If you haven't been out there, the building is, for the most part, done. The next step would be actually, call it the animal containment, the fencing, the pins, those type of things. So again, I believe the contractor's turning it over next month for occupancy.
Hopefully, yes,
Both
hopefully.
human and maybe animal, I don't know, we'll see. So, but again, and as Matt said, there were some very significant donors to the project. And of course, we have plans, we will recognize every donor to the project. There'll be a very nice display within the facility, within the building, and then, hopefully some very special recognition for some of our larger donors. It really started, quite honestly, kind of before the FFA program reemerged at Chanute High School with the tennis family. Merle and Lorella Tennis owned that piece of property, and I believe with some of the proceeds from the sale of it, Lorella donated those to the school in hopes that they would be used for an FFA program at some point. And so that was really kind of the initial donation, if you will, even before this idea was started. And then, of course, the property that was donated for the construction or for the location of this building was owned by Jim and Desiree Kepley, which had purchased it from the tennis family. So the tennis and the Kepleys were both very instrumental in giving us the foundation, if you will, to build upon. Fortunately, a few other donors stepped forward in the form of the Jim and Jean Cooper Foundation, which Phil and Karen Jared were instrumental in administering that. And then Mike and Cece Mitchell also stepped forward with a very nice donation on their behalf. And so again, we'll recognize all donors, but just wanted to highlight to you all some of these larger donors. And Matt, I don't know if you wanted me to share what we're thinking, or if you'll bring that up with the group at some point in the
Yeah,
future.
so we have, of the naming rights?
Correct.
Yeah, so we have that later on the
Okay,
agenda.
perfect.
And the board is aware of what we're looking at with that project.
Okay,
So
very good,
Yep.
thank you. So,
Yep.
well, hopefully I haven't missed anything, and if you have any, I'm more than happy to answer them, so. But if you haven't had an opportunity, please drive by and take a look at it. We will have a nice ribbon cutting ceremony mid-February, and everyone will be invited to that. So thank you again for your support, it's just been wonderful.
Thank
So
you.
again, about a $1.4 million started. So quite an impressive project. The board did, for anybody out here, the board did have an opportunity to come tour the building tonight prior to this meeting. So they've seen it as it sits today, near completion. And certainly a great project for our kids, and something that all of our kids are going to benefit from for many years to come. So thank you all. Okay, next on the list is Child Care Coalition Donor Recognition. So I'm going to take this one on. I'm going to back up a minute just to talk about for Anna, maybe you can help me. When did the Child Care Coalition in Neosho County start?
Well, the county health force started around
2020. So within that Neosho County Healthcare Coalition, they kind of broke off into some areas of need within the community. And one of those areas was child care. And so when I became the superintendent of the school district and became a member of that coalition, one of the very first meetings I attended, they were talking about child care. And we've talked about child care in the school district. Not really child care. We've talked about early learning in the school district for 7 to 10 years of how we can continue to grow that. And so as we were talking about child care in this coalition meeting, it kind of came about that, well, why is the district not a partner in this? Because we have a lot to offer. We also have a lot of employees who have a lot to gain from this, because it was as much about child care as it was about employee workforce retention and workforce benefits to the community. So we've been talking about this for really a long time, and through the long-range facility planning conversations, you all know early childhood, Rose, and childcare both came out in that conversation, and really just by, I guess, maybe a little bit of dumb luck, our architect made a statement on November 12th in one of our meetings that just for some reason, for whatever reason, struck me a little different than it ever has. And he's probably said it 20 times over the last 3 years, and this time, for whatever reason, it struck me different of, we may be able to actually do something now because maybe we have the space to do it. And in the meeting, I looked over at Dr. Burris and said, hey, we might be able to do this now. So that started the conversation of talking about potentially moving our preschool from West Main Street to the Chanute Elementary School. Well, as we were talking about that, and we were talking about what might happen with that, I returned a phone call one day. That's actually how this all started. I returned a phone call one day from Karen and Phil about wanting to talk about a donation to the FFA program and what if there were further needs that we had at the FFA program. And so through conversation, we were really just talking about the gym and for, like, what was the purpose of this, and Phil and Phil, talked about that it really was community based. They wanted to do something to help the community. FFA, nice. Jim ran the grain elevator in town, so that's why they had got involved in that. But really, their whole intent with the foundation was to do something to help the community, and so I put them in touch with Patty Ann, and we came full circle and met at the current preschool and talked about the opportunity that might be in front of us to create a child care center out of the early learning center there on Main Street. So tonight I wanted to take the opportunity to recognize the people who really have made this happen over the last 6 years in this coalition. So Chelsea Frost tonight, who's been a very active member in that coalition. Anna Methvin, who really kind of started the process through the foundation at the hospital, correct? Patty Ann Sanborn, who has been boots on the ground since day one. And Candy Rushing, sitting kind of over here, who was actually brought in maybe even prior to that coalition starting to talk about child care in the area. So
She was first presented, who was it that brought you to our foundation meeting?
Matt Godinez.
Matt Godinez, yeah, Matt Godinez.
Yeah. So these ladies have just really been instrumental in keeping the fire burning for us to try to move forward. And it seemed like every time we met, we said, well, we're getting close, but it was really hard to ever see anything happening. So insert the Jim and Jean Cooper Foundation, through our meeting, they have pledged a significant amount of money in order for us to bring this to reality and turn the Early Learning Center, as we know it right now, into a child care center. We're on a very advanced timeline right now to make that happen, but I certainly want to recognize Karen, and if you want to say anything on behalf of the foundation, but
No, we're just trustees and trying to do what Jim and Jean would have done if they were still here.
And I told them in our meeting, and I do truly believe this. I think this has the chance to transform not just child care in our community. I think it has the chance to transform the next generation of kids that we get into our school system, and really has the opportunity to transform our society, community post these kids. The more kids that we get coming into our system who are ready for school, and we think this is a huge step forward in helping to close the gap of students, children being prepared to enter the school system. So we're super excited. We're super excited to continue partnering with Candy to make this a reality. In the next month, you'll be seeing some actual blueprint drawings to continue moving this project forward. So certainly want to recognize all of the people here, and really all of the people in the crowd tonight who have changes within our community, all because they support our community, and that's just a phenomenal thing. So I think we're quite blessed here in Chanute.
Yeah.
Anybody else have anything to add? Okay, so I just wanted to recognize them all tonight, so, and to you as the board.
Okay. A lot of awesome stuff happening, so. Anybody else have any questions or thoughts?
I'm just so thankful, like so grateful for each and every one of you, for the committees that you're on, for the trust that you're trustees of, just even thinking of our school district and just helping us help the kids of Chanute. So thank you so much.
Awesome.
Okay, thank you guys so much for coming tonight and for all you do. Appreciate it. And thank you, Matt, for all
My
the
pleasure.
info. Okay, we will move on to open forum. Hopefully, it's our little newspaper person. No.
Maybe we can send them something.
I should have been recording so we could summarize it. Okay, we will jump into open forum. I don't have anybody listed. So up next, we are going to do the consent agenda. I do want to highlight a couple of donations. We're going to accept a donation from Community National Bank in the amount of $250 for the Chanute Middle School vocal music program. We're going to accept a donation from the First Presbyterian Church in the amount of $600 for the Chanute Middle School vocal music program. We're going to accept a donation again from the First Presbyterian Church for the endowment fund in the amount of $2,000 for the school nurse fund. Also from the First Presbyterian Church Endowment Fund in the amount of $1,500 with student lunch accounts, sorry. Anonymous donation in the amount of $150 for the Pacemaker Award at Chanute Middle School. $10 donation from Labette Bank of Chanute for Chanute Elementary School classroom supplies. A grant from Blue Cross Blue Shield of Kansas Foundation in $1,000 PBIS program at Chanute Elementary School. And then we're also going to approve the disposal of middle school uniforms. So that is listed on there as well. And then is the resolution is also on the consent agenda. Okay. The resolution attached is also, just in case you didn't hear Matt talk about it, it is just to confirm that we will elect board officers different than the state suggests, and we will do them in the summertime with the fiscal year transition in July. So that, if it does get approved, I do need your signature afterwards, but that is the meat from the agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
I second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any other thoughts or questions? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. I'm gonna send this around and let everybody sign. Your life away to that, please. Okay, next up is the building administration student reports.
Okay, I'm gonna turn it over to Miss Mason for her report on chronic absenteeism.
I gave a picture up there, but it is really hard to see, so I brought you guys. So a big focus this year has been on our numbers of chronic absentee students. And just because I didn't know this until the last couple years, I'll share that information with you as well. The chronic absenteeism is based on if a student misses more than 2 days, they fall into that category. So we are trying to get our students to school and get them Here, I think a lot of our parents and our students think that 2 days is not, that's not a big deal. I only missed 2 days, but by the end of the year, you've missed 20 days. So our focus has been on that. Our goal for this year has been that we get our chronic absenteeism to under 20%. Last year, we ended the year with 26.96 being our number. So our goal was under 20. And when we ran the numbers after Christmas break, we were at 14.7, and it was 21.3 last year at that time. So we felt like we had made some gains there. And the things that we have done, a lot of that is it has kind of just happened through PBIS implementation in the building, and that is we have a focus on attendance. So we do Fun Friday every 2 weeks, and in that time, if your attendance is above 90%, you are not selected to go to an attendance meeting. So in the attendance meeting, they come into the library, we meet, we talk about why we're missing school, what we can do to get everybody here. And I think the other piece of information that that parents don't understand, and maybe kids don't understand, is that they think if my mom called me in, that it's excused, and that isn't in the 2 days. That doesn't count because my mom called me in. Or if I overslept, I love middle schoolers will scraggle in their pajamas and say, oh, I overslept, and they think because they said I overslept that's an acceptable reason not to be at school. So we just have those conversations about what we can do. I've offered alarm clocks, which is kind of funny because I have an alarm clock that they tell me I'm old because they just set it on their phones, but then they sleep through them. So I offer to call them when I get to work in the morning, just whatever it is that I can do to make sure that they get to school. But also on that same focus, there's a lot of conversation about being in school. And so that's our tier 1. Tier 2 focus, we have we looked at our kids that are in the 85 to 89.9%. So they're just barely over the 90% barrier. And we have those kids meeting once a week with the teacher that just to do a check-in to see if they are meeting the expectation. And what can we do to increase those numbers. And the great conversations that have come from tier 2 are with parents. I'll be honest, I've taken some calls from parents that are not very happy that I've put their child in this group. And I didn't, but my name is on the bottom of the letter, so they call me. And it's a group meeting that we've decided what the numbers are and who we are going to meet with. But then I get to have a good conversation with parents as well as, what a student that I'm thinking of has missed a few days all day, but most of their attendance issue is first and second hour. And so when those hours start to catch up with them, and it becomes the numbers that puts them over the 90%. So I have had great conversations, as well as the teacher that is meeting with them. They're building relationships. They want to be in school. We're trying to, find their people, and so that helps them get that. And then there's tier 3, and that's not the group that we want kids to be in, but we do have a handful that are in, and these kids are like 30 to 50% numbers, like those are numbers. But we do file truancy, and we notify DCF. We have meetings with administration here, and just what can we do to provide alternatives for those students, because they're just not coming to school. And when you think about, we just finished a semester, so roughly 90 days, and they've missed 50%. They've already missed 9 weeks of school, and just where they're at with that. So it's really been a focus. It's been, for me, I think the hardest part is because I loved school. I still love school. I'm still in school. I probably attended school in middle school for the social aspect of it, and learning was kind of a side piece to it, but just some of our students just don't have that love, and their parents didn't have that, and so we have to create that for them at the school. So it has been eye-opening for teachers, administration, students, parents, and I really feel like we're going to end the year on a positive note. That is our chronic absenteeism kind of in a nutshell. Does anybody have any questions?
The teacher you said that you pair them with in tier 2, remind me how you choose those again?
Well, 2 ways. Teacher, we put a list out and said, well, initially we just said, who is willing to be part of this? And pretty much every teacher is like, what can we do? How do we get them there? And then we said, here's the list, and you know the kids that you have in your class that you have the relationship with, that maybe you, if you had a relationship with them, because maybe they're in your 5th hour class, so they're always here, but they're missing 1st and 2nd hour. How can we fix that? So the teachers choose and the students choose. So the students are, like, we've gone to them and said, who do you feel like, and that can hurt your heart a little bit when a kid says, I don't think anybody here cares about me, and I'm like, I love you, and they're, why would you love that? Some middle schoolers are, they don't understand that we absolutely love them, want them there. So then they can choose who their teacher is, and so it's kind of, it's built that relationship between teachers and students as to who is, or how we could just improve that.
So it's check-in, it's not like they're out of class for the whole hour.
Oh, it's actually, we have a 10-minute, rocket time. I haven't done that in a long time, but we have a 10-minute comment time in the morning.
Okay.
So they meet with them in that, and then at the end of the day, they do it depending on if all day attendance is an issue, they do it just in the morning. Here, and we're glad you're here. If it's just a couple hours, they usually meet both times, but
Okay.
they do not miss class time for that.
Sometimes it's just a matter of having somebody check on you that just gets you here, those extra days that you wouldn't have, like, somebody cared. You can see that somebody cares, I mean, and so it does make a difference. And honestly, chronic absenteeism, I mean, that's a group of kids. We also focus on just regular attendance, but, it's the first battle in improving student success or student achievement. The first battle is, like, they have to be here. Our teachers are really high quality, and when you miss 45 of the 90 days we've been here, that means you've missed 45 days of instruction. And it's important that you're in front of our teachers, because that's where you get your learning to come from. So the first box in improving student achievement really is getting students there. And when you have 26% of your kids that are missing more than 10% of the school year, it's pretty tough to get the achievement that you're really trying to get. So kudos to the middle school for recognizing it and really focusing on it. And, you know, 25% or 21% down to 13%, you know, 7% of our kids, 7% of 350 kids is 25 kids, right? I mean, so there's 25 more kids there, more frequently than they had been, so that's a big deal.
And as I'm looking around, you have your little candy bowls here. Like when I have a bowl like this in my office, and if a kid has been there 5 days in a row, they can come in and get candy. Like that is, I spent 12 cents on that whole bowl, and they are so excited to come in and get candy out of a bowl. So it's great to see kids. And also that they're making that connection, because some of them, that is just really the issue. They don't feel like they have friends at school, and so they're finding their people. And so it's working, I think. Yes.
You said you attribute some of the success to PBIS.
Yes.
What else would you attribute the success? Because 7% is pretty big. Yeah.
Mr. Shields has been on this. Like, this is his, I'm going to tell you something you may not know, but Shields and Mr. Murray can compete about anything. Okay? Anything. And they have got into a competition on this, who could do better, and we're doing better than the high school, and Mr. Shields loves it. Like, that's, like, he can gloat about that. But he has done a lot of research, like different things that we can do. We've met with different teachers. We have an attendance meeting every week, every Friday at 8:30. We talk about who has met their goals this week. Is there anyone new that we need to be concerned about? Do we need to pull some other students? So there has been a big focus on it from him.
Intentionality. I mean,
Yes.
It's just intentional. Like what they're doing is intentional now. Instead of just hoping that something happens, they've taken intentional steps, and it's paying big dividends.
It is.
So I'll just echo and say that's incredible, right? A 7 absolute % drop. And to make it real, I love you're like, this is 25 kids. Do you have just a rough sense of how many are in tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3?
Our tier 2 group is 57. And those are just, that's everyone that is in our percentage. So our 57 kids that that we're focusing on.
Tier 2 and 3.
Yes, tier 2 and 3. Because our tier 3 is really 5, I think 5 kids that we have brought to try to some alternative ways to get them to school. So we have really focused it, so that would be 52 kids that we've got in there. And then our tier 1 is just all the kids. That's what we're doing for everyone. We do a weekly, if you had perfect attendance the week before, we do a drawing, and you get, again, middle schoolers and food, Little Debbie snack cakes. I call 10 kids names. They come down and get a Little Debbie, and it's their life. But if you have perfect attendance, you're in that drawing, and so that's what we're doing for the kids that are there. So
I can attest the kids love that, because if I have to pull a kid for a dentist appointment, they are furious that they are going to not be eligible for their can of pop or their Little Debbie.
yes.
That is just doesn't take a lot to excite the middle schoolers.
Then they need a dental appointment.
That's exactly right, but you know, yeah, this is really awesome.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, no other questions? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jen.
Okay, next up we have reports by administrators. Director of Teaching and Learning.
Yes, and I guess stole a little bit of my thunder there on one of my topics here. This is going to be pretty short. I've just got a couple of slides. After talking right before break and after break, really wanted to try and get some just some student information in front of you guys. And so start off today, wanted to talk about just kind of a brief overview and update on our work-based learning at the high school for high school aged kids. And then we're going to talk about our district-wide attendance. So I'll echo a little bit of what was already said, but you'll get to see what it is at each building. And again, not much, this isn't going to take very long. But so work-based learning. If you've had a student that has gone through this, then you're probably familiar with it. If you haven't, then you maybe haven't even heard of it. I don't know. WBL, something else you may have, an acronym you may have heard associated with it, but you can go ahead and go on the next slide there, Matt. So the purpose of work-based learning, that's been around for a number of years at the high school, but is to help students get that real-world job experience, possibly a little bit of career exploration, really help them kind of see types of jobs, types of may be interested in, or probably in a lot of cases, types of work they're not interested in doing for their entire career, which is, as we all have probably gone through, that's part of that growing up process. Skill development in all the different things that we all know that we learn as an employee in those first few years, as opposed to sitting in a classroom. We know that there are invaluable things that we learn out in the quote real world, and so that's a part of this. And then an opportunity for some personal reflection and evaluation by that person of their own likes, dislikes, interests, things like that. So this first semester there, we had 25 students in our work-based learning program, and some criteria that they have to go. Next slide there, Matt. This is primarily open to seniors. We've got, I think there has been an exception made throughout the years, but the rule is this is for seniors, mainly because anyone younger than that is not really on track to graduate yet. They don't have the credits and all the other things. They really can't fit it into their schedule. The senior year is when you can fit it in your schedule. So they gotta be a senior and on track to graduate, meaning they've, they're on track with their core classes and their electives. They're not having to retake much. Employment is the big key here. They're getting a job and they're going in working a minimum of 10 hours a week in order to get up to 2 credits of work-based learning that count as elective credit that go toward their graduation. So they hold that job throughout the semester and they are able to earn those 2 credits. Weekly timesheets have to be turned in as well as reflections as to what all they did that week. Students get creative with that. Sometimes it's just written. Sometimes they take some pictures and caption those and share those with the teacher. Forgot to mention that. It has been one of our counselors or our CTE coordinator, Jesse Fewens, the last few years. Sherry Bagshaw at one point. They kind of did it together. And then this year it's Leah Hosley is the one overseeing that. They also contribute to a digital portfolio. Some of the reflections go in there, their resumes, some of their jobs. As they add to it, they have that at the end. And then at the very end of the semester, they write up a semester reflection as to a variety of things, what all they learned, what went well, what they liked, didn't like, things like that. So that's kind of the gist of the program. And going back to our very first topic tonight and all the community support that we have, this is just another example of how our district works with the community and how much support our community really has. As we had 22 different businesses, local businesses that were willing to hire high school students through this work-based learning program this year to count as that. They were willing to fill out the sheets and mark off that they've hit all the requirements. It is a little bit of work for the employer, so we do appreciate that. But you can see the list of students there, or sorry, the list of businesses. We even, within the district ourselves, we've got a few schools up there that people have students either coming and helping out in the custodial staff. In years past, we've had them in the food service as well. I don't know if we have food service this year or not. I think we even had possibly some paras at one point. Or aides in the classroom at the elementary, I think. So there's a lot going on there, but that's just one of what I think, and only 25 students, you hear of that at the high school, and there's 500 plus kids there, and you're like, oh, not very many, but it's really just for the senior class, and it's something that really can have the opportunity to have a profound impact on those students. So, and that's not all of them. That's throughout the years. It's different businesses, depending on what kids are coming through at that time. So, any questions on work-based learning? All right. All right. The second thing, and I think I just have 2 slides here on this. Piggybacking off what Ms. Mason talked about just a minute ago, attendance numbers, and the number I'm going to throw up there is just our average daily attendance. But if you look at that picture right there, it has a little bit of the data that Ms. Mason had mentioned earlier. The missing 2 days a month equals 20 days a year, 30 hours of math over the school year, all that. And if you double that, and we do have students that miss 4 days or more a month, and you can see that throughout their K-12 education, they would actually miss multiple years of education when cumulatively when you add it all up, which is really crazy. And those are the types of things that help start leading to the poor academic performance or the dropout rate once they get to the high school. So attendance is something that has been focused on for a number of years now. If you've been on the board for a few years, you know that this has been a big push by the state and by local districts, and us especially the last few years. The numbers up there, I'm just going to say, I'm sitting here today, those are pretty darn good numbers. They really are. When you look at the 24-25 year, that middle column there, that's last year's end of year numbers, and you see the percentage of average daily attendance. So on an average day, this is the average percentage of students that were in attendance. That's pretty darn good. Now, yeah, we do have students that are still missing, but when you start thinking about the total number of kids we have and where we've gotten those numbers to, just a few years back, they may have been in the high 80s, they may have been in the low 90s. We've gradually increased those and gotten them to a pretty darn good place. Right now, as you can see from the semester, they're pretty much on par with last year's numbers. Right there, slightly, high school is just a 10th down, and the other 2 buildings are up, and we've got some good things going on. As was mentioned by Ms. Mason, all the buildings are really focusing on the different little things you can do. And we've gotten the masses to start having better attendance, and now we've kind of got the ability to focus on those tier 3 kids, those ones that are missing a ton, and really start to have those interventions for them, which you may think, well, what's 1 or 2 kids gonna do for our number? Well, it may do quite a bit because some of those kids are missing a lot, but it's definitely going to have an impact on that individual student if we can start getting them here on a regular basis. So I just wanna congratulate the buildings on their hard work in this, their focus on it. As was mentioned earlier, the weekly meetings at the middle school, the intentionality there, the purpose of it, the data that helps get those things going in the right direction. So they're doing a lot of really good things, and I just want you guys to be aware of it. So, any questions on any of the topics?
I would just tag on to this that as we were asked, or a comment was made last month, to continue to bring and show us student success data. I think this is what we've been talking about in our office, is like there's so much to student success data. It's not all going to be test scores. It's not all going to be math, reading, and science and those things. And attendance is a huge piece of student success, and I really think it's honestly quite remarkable that our secondary schools are outperforming our elementary school. In the sense of, you would think elementary school kids just go to school because they still like going to school. It's kind of a culture shift that elementary kids don't come to school. When numbers like that, I think it really should say to you that the culture within the building is pretty dang good too. And that there's an awful lot of kids who have a reason to want to come to school. When you get 95% of high school kids to show up every single day, that's a big deal. And it's because of the things that are happening in the school. And so I believe it's a really huge success criteria. Again, it's not achievement. But it is allowing them to improve their achievement because they're there in class. So, and work-based learning is another example of like ways that a lot of students can be successful. That without that they may not have been as successful if they wouldn't have had that opportunity to go out and have that work-based learning opportunity, and instead had to fill that hour or two in their schedule with another class they don't really want to be in. Allows them to continue to be successful. So hopefully, I just wanted to point out that we're seeing this from a student success criteria as well, not just data to show you, but ways our students are successful and our schools are successful in what they're doing in these areas. So thank you to Mr. Applegate for putting this together and sharing it with you tonight.
Yes, thank you so much. Okay, we are going to move on to Dr. Burris. Do you have anything?
I do. So at the beginning of the year, I talked to you guys about ESOL in our district. Well, we are right near the window for the CALPA testing to begin. It will begin February 2nd. So before we have our next board meeting, that window will have opened. So I just wanted to give you a little bit more information about CALPA and what it is. So it is for our students that are in the ESOL, which is the English for Speakers of Other Languages, that have qualified for that service. It is a mandated assessment for any student that receives services, or if parents have declined services, they still have to take the CALPA at the end of the year. It's an annual state assessment for our ESOL students with ESOL services. And it's administered to our kids from kindergarten through their senior year. You can go ahead and go to the next slide. This gives some of the mandates. So we have the ESSA Title III compliance, state accountability, and then it's also part of the civil rights to make sure that we are checking the progress of our students receiving those services and making sure that they're able to make those gains that we want them to be able to make. So when you go to the next slide, each of our assessments are broken down into 4 testing domains: the listening, speaking, reading, and there are subtests in each of those domains that all of our students from kindergarten through grade 12 take, and you can kind of see what those are about. Listening, they take information in, answer questions. Speaking, they actually speak into a microphone. It's then recorded, and that is graded. Reading and writing. I do think it's important to note that these assessments are given on that grade level content. So it is, if it's a kindergartner, then they're taking it based on kindergarten skills, seniors and so forth. So that is important to know because it is different each year based on the grade level. When they take the assessment, you can go on to the next slide, each of those domains get a rating of 1 to 4. And then it's broken down into beginning, early, intermediate, and early advanced. Our goal is for every student receiving ESOL services to receive a 4 in each of those 4 domains. Because that says that they are ready for or they demonstrate the language skills to be able to engage in the grade level content with ease. That then goes into the next slide, which is an overall performance. So if you want to go to the next one. And this is how those 4 scores are then put into this. So in order to become proficient, which is to receive an overall proficiency level of 3, they have to have a 4 in each one of those domains. I will tell you that most of our students, and this has been like historically since I have been here, a large percentage of our kids are in that 2 range. So they're almost there, but they're not quite there yet. I think last year we had 69% of our students in that 2 range. We would like to see more students move over into the proficient range, but I think there's a lot of varying factors. It could depend on if there's been formal education before coming to our school district. It could be just the language acquisition level that they are in. If they are a non-English speaker, that may take a little bit more time than somebody that speaks English and another language in the home. So there's a lot of factors, but the majority of our students are in that level 2 range. So just kind of looking at the timeline, in August, with all of our students, they complete that home language survey. If they answer any other language besides English, we give a screening. That lets us know if they qualify for ESOL services. And then we provide those services. The window opens again February 2nd, and it is through March 13th is when it closes. So it closes before state assessments start. And then the scoring is due by the end of April, because there are parts that our teachers have to score. And then we usually get the reports in May, towards the end of May, mid-May, and then that can help make decisions for next year. So it'll let us know those students that will move to monitoring status, if they are proficient on the assessment, and then it also gives us a good idea of what our numbers will be for next year. So this is an annual assessment that we give every year, and once we get those scores, I can bring those back to you guys again, so you can see where we're at for this year.
Number of students that will take this approximately?
Approximately 72 this year. Last year we had 64 take the assessment. Thank you. Yeah, no, I wrote it down just in case.
But I did want to know.
So.
Do we adjust their state assessments if they don't speak English from an English state assessment?
That's a great question. So a couple of factors. If a student is new to the country, usually like at the end of March of the previous year, they are exempt from the ELA assessment. They do still have to take the math and the science and the social studies if it's relevant for them. There can be some accommodations for students that have an ILP, which is their plan. There can be some translation that is within the KITE system if it's in their plan. Good question.
Okay.
It's a year.
I feel like it would be kind of hard if I don't speak English to read the
Yes.
English, like to read
Science.
or
There's more accommodations for science, math, social studies than there will be for ELA,
ELA,
because ELA is measuring their ability to
right, correct. Okay.
do the English language at
Right,
that
but if
grade
we
level.
can't pass the COPA, then we clearly aren't able.
And the social studies test is embedded in the classroom, and so they get
And so they get their normal.
regular supports.
Okay, perfect. Okay, good to know.
But that's a good question.
Okay, anything else? Okay, thank you, Dr. Burris.
You're welcome.
Next up, Matt.
It's my turn. I don't have a PowerPoint for you, but I have some notes for myself here. I'm going to start with the preschool, talking about, I mean, I know I said it earlier, but about the preschool moving to the elementary school. That conversation started in November. I think what I would say today is it's probably, well, not probably, it is the right move long-term for our district. We certainly would not have moved as fast as what we are had we not received a donation to do the work at the preschool center towards the child care. So that donation really did jumpstart us and move us forward maybe a little faster than what we would have had we not received that. But ultimately, the feedback that we've received from having conversations at the preschool with that staff and at the elementary school with staff, I've not heard anything but positive from anybody involved. Even my wife asked this weekend at a family gathering, like, what have you really heard, to one of my other family? What have you really heard at the elementary school about this? And both my sister-in-law and my niece both said, not heard anything but positive. So there really are, I think, just so many things that are positive about this, and so many positives that are gonna come out of this. Not just for our preschool students, but I think it's also gonna help our just early learning along the way. I think it will help us create a better transition from preschool to kindergarten. I also think it's gonna help both grade levels, or both groups, understand a little bit better what's supposed to be or what should be happening developmentally at the other. So the space that we have, I've talked for for the last 3 years about we've had our declining enrollment at the elementary school. So we're about 250 students short at the elementary school of what we were 10 years ago. So that's what's allowing this to happen. We have 43 full-size classrooms and 34 classes at the elementary school right now. So that's what's really going to allow this to happen. There are some needs that are gonna come up about this transition from the early learning center to the elementary school. There's really two that are pretty significant, I would say. Drop off, pick up and drop off. We really need to. We're gonna have to address it either by scheduling or we're gonna have to address it by adding a drop off pickup location. I would prefer to add the location because I think it makes more sense long term. But if we can't do that in the short term, then it will mean we will adjust schedules to keep it as a preschool and adjust that so that we don't cause more problems at that pickup or drop off. And then outside play area is the second kind of bigger issue that we have to face, in that we have 3 playgrounds at the elementary school, but all 3 of them are rated age 5 through 12. So we won't be putting preschoolers on that, those playgrounds, on that equipment. However, I think we have a pretty solid plan to address that as well, which is partially in new business a little bit later. But we would like to take advantage of the courtyard that we have that's not very well used for an early learning area. It would also keep the earliest or the youngest kids that we have contained inside of inside and outside, inside. And we think that's super positive as well, to not be just out in the open area. So we'll continue to talk about those and continue to address those, but our plans as of today are to move 4-year-olds out to the elementary school starting in August, and again we're pretty well there on that. And then childcare plans, I want to reiterate, how blessed we are to get the donation that we've got. It's really incredible that it's happening after all of this time. But I want to be clear, the plans of this will not have a cost to the district. So there is no intention that the remodel of this building will cost the district anything. It is intended to be paid for by this donation. And if it doesn't come in at that cost of the donation that we have, then we will reevaluate and see what the other steps are. So we have a very aggressive timeline on that to move forward. And that is because we want to move the 4-year-olds out and we want to have a space for 3-year-olds and childcare starting in August. So I know I've shared all of that with you, but certainly wanted to share that in public tonight as well. And then the last thing on my list is that today was the day the legislative session started. So if you love following state legislative action, it started up today. So the one thing really that we're following right now, today was day 1 of the session. The one thing that we're following pretty closely right now is this whole cell phone ban situation that's already has a hearing this week in both the Senate and the House. I don't disagree with cell phone ban. I don't really have, we have banned cell phones 2+ years ago at this point. So it's not an issue of banning the cell phone, but one of the hearings goes a little too far and basically, in my opinion, and says not only can you not allow them to be used, you have to have them in a lockable pouch, which is very specific and very common to every single district to have to buy a lockable pouch for kids to put cell phones in. It will, without fail, cause huge disruptions when a kid says, I don't have a cell phone. I can't put mine in the pouch because I don't have one today. It will be a headache for everybody. So my opinion is, I don't care. I think banning cell phones has been one of the best things we've ever done, but I think it should be a local decision of the local school board. There are some school districts that probably utilize cell phones in a way that is effective. And so for the state to come tell them you can't do that, I think is overreach. In my opinion, it's overreach. Both the House and the Senate are both hearing a bill in that regard this week. So if you're inclined to let your legislators know what you think of that as a local school board, because it really is stepping on your toes as a local school board and creating a policy that you would have to enforce and follow here locally, that I think what we've done is working pretty well. And I know Mr. Applegate went to school the last 2 years and would say the same thing, so, I don't think
It's
we
either
need their
year,
help.
year 3 or 4. I
Yeah.
can't remember which it is now,
Yeah.
but it's,
So-
if you pulled the teachers for sure, it's been a game changer.
Is there a House bill number that you're aware of?
Yep, House Bill 2421 and Senate Bill 302.
Thank you.
The other thing we'll be paying close attention to, as we have every year, is special education funding. So I'm going to give you a little bit of information. The state may actually have the money this year to fund special education if they would like to. So there's a budget win of the state this year. We, as a state, are down about 10,000 students on the September 20th count. So that equates to about $158 million that the state budgeted to spend on students because of student count that they don't have to spend. So it's not it's a budget gain, not a budget shortfall. They could take that $158 million and put it towards special education and fully fund special education, which is what a lot of us would prefer. But so let me tell you about 413 and our special education. 413 total spend in fiscal year 25 for special education was $3,637,451. So we spent just over $3.5 million. From the state, in state aid, we received $1.856 million. We also received from the state local contribution state aid of $243,883, which meant of our total special education spend, we had to transfer from our operating funds $1,537,197 to cover the unfunded SPED dollars. So every bit of that $1.5 million, we should be responsible for some of it. By state statute, we should be responsible for about 8% of that amount. 92% is the state statute of what the requirement is from the state. So if they took that $158 million and put it into special education, we would stand to gain about $1 million or just over $1 million that we could put back into our operating funds and have complete flexibility of using. Where right now we're having to transfer that all to cover the SPED expenses, and that's not an option. Like if there's SPED expenses, we have to pay them. I mean, if it's in an IEP, we have to pay them. So that's about our local contribution here is just about 1.5 million on top of out of our operating funds. So that's why we continue to say if they would fully fund special education, it could potentially be a game changer for us.
Do you know roughly how many special ed kids we have? Same question all the time.
Well, I can tell you that co-op wide, we are at about a 21.3% identification rate, which is astronomical.
The state, what the state was paying to or whatever they paid.
92%.
Sorry, that's a.
No,
So
I
we
think
had-
I think they were right around 70% this year. This last year. 70% of the 92% of excess cost. Yeah. So it's roughly $13,000 per teacher, if you want to look at it that way. Roughly $6,000 per staff member that we have that we are transferring operating costs to cover the shortfall.
Would prefer to think of it that way, honestly.
So, I mean, those are just some of the numbers you can tease out there, right? I mean, of the way that it works. So, again, those are you'll start receiving legislative updates weekly. You know, like most things in the legislature, really bad bills that come out that'll never gain traction. There will be some really good bills that come out that'll never gain any traction. So you have to give you updates. You also have to take some of those with a bit of, but this is what's about right now. So, but it is going to be another very short session. They've already set the dates for the session. It's going to be short. We don't anticipate they'll mess with funding too much because the entire school finance formula sunsets on July 1 of 2027. So they will not do anything this year, probably with school finance. The governor terms out, so they will wait for the governor to be gone, so they don't have that problem before they really make headway on school finance. We're pretty certain, so.
Well, and they won't do too much before the elections themselves.
Correct. So it's going to be a very short session with maybe or maybe not a whole lot of movement in any one direction. So upcoming dates of interest. The 19th is our next professional development and ed camp day where Southeast Cherokee is coming to join us. It'll be a great day. February board meeting is the 4th. So on January, I'm telling you about February board meeting. No school on the 16th of February for PD day. Ribbon cutting at the FFA facility. As of right now, we're planning around the 17th or 18th of February. So if you can kind of put a soft date there. And then the spring drama production, Pride and Prejudice. If you listen to my update, we are moving that from Friday, Saturday to Saturday night and a Sunday matinee because of a Friday night basketball game. And we don't really want those kids competing against each other in their performances. So hopefully you're okay with that Sunday matinee. It's actually been really well attended when we've done it in the past as a matinee, so I think it'll be good.
You missed one that we didn't cover from last week on the 9th, on their significant event on January 9th.
No significant event.
Friday.
On January
Somebody's
9th.
50th birthday.
Nothing significant about that.
I'm not surprised I wasn't invited.
Well,
We
that's
did.
invite as everybody else. Just FYI.
I have a quick follow-up question. I was
Sure.
gone last month, and so maybe you talked about this, maybe not. If pre-K 4 is moving to CES, is pre-K 3 going to stay a school thing, or is that going to move to a daycare thing, or do we not know yet?
We don't know yet. So there's kind of a couple of options there. I would like to keep it a school thing for financial reasons. So not financial reasons of us, but financial reasons of our community.
Yep.
The catch is construction, right? So although we have room to move 3-year-olds to the elementary school, it would cause a lot of disruption for us to move 3-year-olds to the elementary school. We have space to move 4-year-olds without really disrupting the building, maybe almost at all, like almost no disruption.
Okay.
But if we move 3-year-olds, we're talking about disrupting maybe every single hallway. And I'm just not sure it really fits to have 3-year-olds either, right?
Yeah.
So, but it's gonna be dependent upon construction. Like if we could legitimately have this place open by September 1st, then we would continue to have 3-year-old preschool in this facility.
Okay.
Parents would then have the opportunity, because they'd be half day, parents would then have the opportunity to say, I want my kid to stay the other half a day at this facility, go to another facility, come home, like, whatever they chose to do, not that we would ask them to stay there.
Sure, yeah.
That I think is ideal, that we have a 3-year-old program at that facility. I think that's the ideal situation. We just don't know because of.
That makes sense.
We have a very aggressive timeline, and we're not sure that we can actually meet it.
Yeah.
Or that, not we, but that contractors would be able to meet it.
That makes total sense. Thank you.
We would always have to offer 3-year-old preschool for students have an IEP though, just so you
Yes.
know. So we
Yes.
would never be able to cut out 3-year-olds. If we cut out 3-year-olds, it would be like the,
Model.
everybody coming that wanted to
Yes,
come,
yeah.
basically.
Okay.
Open 3-year-old.
Yeah. Perfect. Thanks.
Okay, anything else? Happy belated birthday, is that what you want, do you want us to sing?
I did not want to.
Tyler wants us to sing.
Yeah, we can sing at the end.
Somebody's getting
Tamara
mad
we can make some
about
party hats out of this stuff. Okay, up next is Heather.
Our A&W meeting, first of all, thank you for moving this meeting to Monday so that I can go to the A&W meeting that is happening this Wednesday. But, so the notes that I have are from the December meeting. ABA therapy has been a discussion at the state school board level, and so we just discussed it, kind of like what is it type of a thing. And if anyone would like to know more about that, I am happy to talk to you about that later. But then we talked about the in-service focus for A&W employees has been specially designed instruction, and they will continue talking about specially designed instruction. It's been going really well for them. Our number count is September 20th for the population of our district, but A&W's number count is December 1st. So at the meeting on Wednesday, we'll get the final count on what the A&W numbers were. Just for FYI, we have 115 licensed staff members employed by A&W, and we have 147 support staff, but we would love 160. Yep. And then we did finish Corinne's evaluation last month, and that's really the highlights. So, does anyone have any questions?
I don't. Thank you, Heather.
Yeah.
Matt, you have anything to add that you remember from superintendent stuff? No. Okay. Great. Thank you, Heather, so much. If you have any, if you ever have questions about special education and want to meet with Matt and Heather, please feel free to do so. Just let them know. Okay, I don't show any other unfinished business. New business. Oh, up first is the fiscal audit. You've waited so patiently. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Sorry, I'm coughing back here. I'm just getting over this sickness that's running around
You
town.
are good.
The cough only
So if I
lasts
get a
about
little
6 more
hoarse.
weeks. We'll see you in 6 more weeks.
Don't make me laugh. Apologize. All right, let's skip past the letter that's in there and dive straight into the audit report. Page 1, 2, and 3 is the independent auditor's report. First paragraph talking about the audit of being the school district as of June 30th, 2025. Then the second paragraph actually talks about what they call an adverse opinion. In the state of Kansas, we're allowed to follow what they call the regulatory basis of accounting. So we don't follow GAAP, generally accepted accounting principles. Otherwise, we don't capitalize our assets and depreciate them out over their useful life, and debt and other long-term obligations are just disclosed in the footnotes rather than actually recorded as a liability against the district. Now, actually, in the state of Kansas, bond in the open market most generally will sell before any other state because of that basis of accounting. Because it says we can't spend the money if we don't have the money in the fund, and you can't spend the money if you don't have public approval. That's the budget process. So actually, the third paragraph down there is the most important one. It is called an unmodified opinion on the regulatory basis of accounting, which what that means to you is based on testing that we did, we feel like you have a materially accurate representation of what happened during the year and how you ended the year without any further modification needed. Now, the slang term would be a clean opinion on your financial statements, meaning we believe the numbers that are presented in here are materially correct. Then we talk about a basis for opinion, responsibilities of management at the bottom of the page, auditor responsibilities at the top of the next page, and then the rest of the report tells you we took full responsibility for everything else that's in the audit. So let's turn to statement number 1. It's not defined by state statute to show users at a glance that we're in compliance with Kansas cash basis laws. And if you look at the 4th column over ending unencumbered cash, if any of those were negative as you're glancing down through that 4th column, that'd be a violation of Kansas statute. As you glance down there through there, though, you're going to see that we do have some grant funds that do end negative. Actually began the year negative. There is an exception to every rule that's out there. If you have a signed grant agreement, you are allowed to go negative, because most of our grants are a reimbursement grant where you got to spend the money, wait for the money to come back in. That is allowed by statute to go ahead and do that if you have a signed grant agreement in place. But as you're glancing down through there, I like this statement because it really just shows you the snapshot of where we started, how we ended. General fund, you can see the very top line, started the year out with 0, brought in 15.5, spent 15.5, and ended the year with 0 unencumbered cash. And we add back accounts payable and encumbrances. Those are the monies that haven't been spent yet, but were encumbered to that prior budget period to get to a cash balance by the individual funds. If we go down towards the bottom, I'm looking at the totals at the bottom of the middle of the second page there. You can see we started the year out with $9.4 million. We brought in $39.6 million. spent 38.8, so actually ended the year with 10,259,000 of unencumbered cash. So actually had a pretty decent year when you're looking at it at that point. We did get some grant monies back in, had some increases like even the supplemental general went from 131 up to 201. Your capital outlay fund was one of the others that we were able to increase to a little bit. There's a reconciliation of cash down there at the bottom of that to show you that it does reconcile back to your cash accounts. Then we get into the words, the footnotes. Footnote number 1 is 4 pages long. This footnote is prescribed by the state of Kansas. If you pick up any school district in the state of Kansas, you're going to see pretty much this exact same footnote. It talks about what Kansas cash basis is, what Kansas budget laws are, how we recognize reimbursed expenses, property taxes, budgets. We get into information that's specific to you on page 10. The first thing we talk about is stewardship, compliance, and accountability. And we're looking at Kansas statutes there. And as you glance down through there, you're going to see that we did have a couple statutory violations that we did note. The first one talks about the budget, or the cash violations. We had a couple cash violations out there, but we talk about the fact that there is a outstanding different KSA out there that allows that. And so those were not really considered violations of the Kansas cash basis laws. But then you do read down through there, you're going to see that we did go over budget in 2 of our funds, which is a violation of Kansas statute 792935, meaning we spent more money than was publicly approved through the budget process. That was in the Recreation Commission Fund and the Recreation Commission Employee Benefit Fund. We collect taxes on behalf of the Rec Commission, and then we turn around and pass them through. We're almost like a pass-through entity. But unfortunately, we're bound by budget law on top of cash law. So they ended up collecting more money than we had actually levied for them or budgeted for them with all the other taxes, and we ended up passing it on through to them. We got to stop, and that last payment we make to them, we got to stop and make sure that we actually have budget authority. So it's not that we did anything wrong, we just gave them more money than we were supposed to because we didn't get the budget approved. We passed it on through to them. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So it is noted as a violation here, but it's not a penal statute. Nobody's going to jail. Nothing's going to happen really is what it comes down to. Bottom of that page, we talk about deposits and investments. We are limited in the state of Kansas about where and how we can invest our monies. Can't just go out and invest in the stock market. We talk about the fact that all of your funds last year were covered with what they call securities pledged or else a sweep account. So all your funds were stepped up. Creditor if the bank would fail, is what that footnote's talking about. Now on page 11, I'm going to skip past page 11 because that's the capital leases that you have. They're shown on the next page in a column format, that nice little schedule there. I like them in that schedule better because it shows, it'd be the 5th column over from the right, beginning balances. So that's your beginning long-term debt was $35.2 million. You can see we issued $104,000 of new debt, which some of those was that capital lease or financing lease. We paid that down by 2.7, so actually ended the year with $32.6 million of long-term debt of the district. Now the schedule right below that, you're going to see it's the next 5 years of payments of principal and interest, and then 5-year chunks after that, because most of your planning at a school district is done in 5-year phases. So it gives you the 5 years payments and how there's the payment schedules, how they line out. Page 13, I do want to talk about CAFRs just real quick. Actually, it's on page 14. It's that same footnote, but it's the last paragraph on page 14 there. It talks about the fact that the shortfall at the state level, the district's share of that shortfall is at $14,005,907. That does not show up as a liability of the district up in those front financial statements. That's actually at the state level, but that's one of those GAAP adjustments that if we were doing GAAP financial statements, that's considered our liability. So otherwise, if CAFRs was given back to you as a district and said, no, you pay your staff and your employees all the retirement, you would be short $14 million. Excuse me.
6 months of school.
So with that being said, I'm gonna skip past a couple of these others. Let's dive a couple pages in the interest of time back to page 17. Page 17 is to show users at a glance we're in compliance with those budget laws. As you're glancing down through that very last column, you can see the Rec Commission and the Rec Commission Employee Benefits Fund. We went over by 37,000 with the Rec Commission and 7,614 with the employee benefits, but all the other funds were actually under the publicly approved budget. Then we get into the information that's by fund. This follows the state budgetary format. Shouldn't be any surprises as you're looking at the numbers here. When we did your audit, we actually had like, I believe it was just like a couple different adjustments, pretty small ones, though they were like a recording accounts payable, so getting that expense in the right period, cleaning up some of those kind of things. So the numbers should be really close to where you've seen them in the past when you're looking at the funds. When Matt was talking about the special ed fund earlier, I just happened to glance down, and every number he told you a while ago was basically straight out of the audit. And he got his numbers, I don't know where he got his numbers, probably internally, but they came and they match up with what's in the audit there, with all those numbers that he was just spouting off to you. So, with that being said, I'm not going to sit and read each fund to you. So I'm going to have us turn all the way back to page 57. Page 57 is the first of the section. Because of the amount of federal money that flowed through the district, we had some additional audit procedures that we had to do. They call it the single audit section. The last column there, you can see I'm looking at the total federal expended awards was $1,708,000. So that's actually a positive. That's $1.7 million of the federal taxpayers' monies that we spent as a district. We think about it not coming out of the local taxpayers' pocket, even though I know we all pay federal income tax, but it's a lot bigger pocket when you're talking about the federal taxpayers' pocket, that we brought $1.7 million into our local economy to spend of federal money. Now, the next reports are because of that federal money that flowed through your organization, through the district. Page 58 and 59 is look at internal controls at the upper district level. As you read through this report, you're going to see that we did have an item that we needed to discuss in here. It's listed as finding number 2005-001. When we issue a federal audit, they don't allow us to do what they call they called it a management letter, in which we would give you suggested internal controls and issues that we came about when we were doing your audit. We're now required to, if we're doing the federal audit, it has to be in writing and put into the audit. So we're going to talk about that here in just a minute, because we have an internal control issue that we felt like needed to be addressed. Page 60, 61, and 62 take that down to what they call the major program level, in which we take some of your federal monies and actually test you for compliance with laws and regulations. Now, the federal government gives us a list of those rules and regulations to test on an annual basis. We don't get to pick and choose what we do. They give us a list of rules and say, okay, here, go test them for this year, or go test them for that this year. This year, we actually tested your Title I program and the Children's Nutrition Program, so the food program. And I'm happy to say that with all that federal testing that we did in those two programs, we were able to satisfy all of those testing results, and so we had no problems with the federal money that we spent as a district. Page 63 and 64 is a summary of basically everything I just told you. On 64, though, let's talk about the one finding that we did have. This is the one internal control issue that we had. When we were doing our testing at the different school district levels, we have activity funds at the different schools. We found that we were missing some receipts. Do you remember which building it was?
It's the middle school.
Middle school, wasn't it? That's right. Every time a student, anybody turns in money to the district office, we should, or into the school, we should be writing a handwritten receipt for them, so that we always have an accounting for every dollar that comes through there, and then we should be able to take receipt 1 through 10 see, they add up, and that's actually the $1,000 that went into the bank. We had some turnover in staff during this last year, and it led to the practice of not writing the receipts every time we received a payment. And so we felt like it rose to the level that needed to be talked about in the audit, because the fact that we weren't issuing receipts. And that's just another way to possibly, it's not that we found any fraud, but that is a way to commit fraud, is by not issuing receipts when we get all those monies coming through the door. So we've made a recommendation that we make sure the staff get properly trained and that we issue pre-numbered receipts for every dollar that comes through the door. And if you look at page 66, there is a corrective action plan in which management has written, in which we do not audit the corrective action plan until the next year, because it's got views of the officials. And our planned corrective action plan, in which you see we talk about we're going to hold trainings for all buildings in regards to proper documentation, the receipt of funds, the documentation of receipts contained in each deposit made to the bank by December 31st, 2025. So otherwise, we went out and did some training with our staff to make sure they understood the process that needed to happen so that we can have proper accounting. Questions about that?
Just the activity fund receipts, is this people buying candy bars at school fundraisers, or what's the?
This would be yearbook. This would be the class of 2021. This is the activity funds. Actually,
Anything that came into the office. So if they came into the
Yes.
office, bought a yearbook, bought a student ID, bought
a lot of student ID, they would fall through there. Actually, if you turn back to page 54 and 55, there's a list of all those agency funds on page 54 and 55.
I think there's a lot of them. Like every club.
Yeah.
So agency funds or activity funds?
It's a combination. They're both. Agency funds and activity funds are reported. The activity funds that are actually gate receipts are over on page 56. It's the agency funds. We do, all that accounting is done in one. I guess I probably misspoke there. All that accounting is done in the buildings in one checkbook, one receipt book, one everything together. So we wrote the documentation up as overall. But your agency funds there on page 54 and 55, and then the activity funds are on page 56.
I can confirm to you, it's money coming into the office.
Coming
That's
in,
what it
yeah.
is.
And what I was trying to find out is how big of a pot was at risk, and it sounds like not huge anymore.
Yeah, not huge amounts of money.
It's not a huge pot, but
It's,
I always say it's better to CYA,
Yep.
you better have that documentation in place, because it only takes that one student to come in and say, no, I paid her.
Yeah.
I paid her in cash. And then how do you prove it if you don't have the receipts and the documentation in proper order and properly backed up to cover yourself? All right, real quick, there's a separate letter in there.
It was attached.
yes.
It was,
Just right in the middle. It's like,
Oh, did you guys?
yeah, it was
right
in
in
board
front.
packets only.
Yeah, and the board
Okay.
ones, yes.
Okay, yeah, there's a rubber band section that was board copies only.
Yes, they have all of
This letter doesn't go out to the public. They call it we call it the presentation letter in-house. It's actually, the official title is A Letter to Those Church with Governments. And I'm not gonna make light of it because it's pretty boilerplate, but it is important that you do read through it because it is a letter to those church with governments. Talks about problems we would have encountered, corrected and uncorrected misstatements. As you read through it, like I said, it's gonna be boilerplate, but it is important that you do read through it. The third page actually lists out the couple adjustments that we had. And then the very last few sections of that is called the management representation letter. It's signed between management and the auditors. We're now required to give the full board a copy of all those representations that have been made. I often refer to it as the reminder letter because as management read through it, they should have talked to the auditors about everything that's in that letter. No lawsuits, no significant conflicts of interest, no problems with grantors, no problems with the IRS. Again, I'm making light of the letter. It's 6 pages long, but those are the representations that have been made between management and the auditors. We're now just required to give you a copy of it so you can see those representations that have been made. Apologize, that was a quick presentation, and I'm coughing the whole time. I apologize.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you
Yes,
so
thank
much.
you. Anybody have any questions or need
Yeah.
clarification?
Quick is what we want.
Okay,
All right,
I think we're good.
that's it. I'm
You're
gonna
gonna
sneak
take
back out then.
Okay.
Oh, right,
Yes.
yes, you do have to
Thank
take
you.
action.
Thank you.
Tamara,
you.
good job. I know this is a new software program this year, right?
We did transition to a new software program in the 24-25 school year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I would also like to say we had about 4 hands in the money at the middle school over that time period also. And right now, the person we have over there is doing a great job and has communicated very well. Taylor has gone over there multiple times to help her with what needs to be done, and her, whatever she did previously, she understands what needs to be done.
Perfect.
And that corrective action is in place. I mean, there are cash receipts being given out. I can attest to that because I went over and had to pay for something for my child, so, and I got a receipt.
Good.
So, yeah. It's unfortunate, but there was not a ton of money at risk because it was really related to cash, which there's not a ton of cash transactions outside of gate receipts, which was not part of that. But we knew, I mean, we told them it was happening. We knew that it had happened. It was not something that the auditors necessarily found as much as we reported to them. We know we had this issue. And we tried to address it several times last year with the people we had and just were not very successful. So that's.
We've been blessed for so long to have people in those positions that did what they were supposed to do. That in this, it kind of started in 23, 24, but over that time period, we've had about,
A lot of people.
a lot of people in that office over
Yeah,
there.
yeah. Well, I know that,
With new administration, that's
Right.
unfamiliar as well.
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
some of those things of how they need to work.
and then you add in the new software and then everything. I'm
Um,
surprised there's as little corrections as what they had to do with. That's fantastic. You did an awesome job, you and your
No,
people.
thank you.
That's,
I
that's
will
hard.
say that I think having the software at the buildings has been a blessing for us, that we can see some things that we couldn't see before.
Yeah,
That we can point out some things to be corrected,
yeah,
and review data
yeah,
at this level
sure,
for them, other than that, when it comes for the audit.
yeah. Well, even just being, I mean, yeah, making sure things are mapping to the right place, the right general ledger accounts and just all of that stuff. That's a huge transition, so props to you. Okay, we do have recommended motion as well.
I move to accept the fiscal audit for the 2024-2025 as presented and allow Board President Cassandra Cleaver to sign the 2025 Management Representation Letter on behalf of the board.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any other discussion or question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Awesome. Now nobody else is waiting on us. Okay. Waste tire grant guide.
Sure, so, I put a recommended motion up here. This is not, making this motion would not be spending any money tonight, but it would be, potentially committing to the idea that, applying for a grant can lead to spending money. So, the waste tire grant guide from KDHE, I attached on here. Essentially, it's a 50-50 match. So if you win the grant award, it's a 50-50 match for materials that reduce, that are at least 50% of recycled tire by weight. And so why we're applying for this grant, it's due the 15th. That's why I'm asking for permission to apply instead of many times we talk about it and apply and then bring it back to the board after we've either received or not. But the reason for this quick turnaround is because it's due the 15th and the fact that if we were to convert the courtyard into a play space, this would take care of spraying rubber over all the concrete area and make the entire courtyard area a soft zone for students. So that's what this is for. We just got the original quote, or the first quote from the playground company. of what that pour-in-place rubber would cost. It's about $96,000 for that courtyard pour-in-place rubber. So if we were to win the grant and then we were to accept the grant, then we would be responsible for half of that as a school district. So this is just giving me permission and Taylor really permission to fill out the grant and submit it. If we were awarded the grant, we would have the opportunity to tell them, no, we don't want it, like, because we're not moving forward. So again, it's not committing anything today. It's knowledge to you that we are looking at this, and you're giving me the authority to pursue it moving forward. So we have got this grant 2 or 3 times in the past, and have used it for rubber mulch in playgrounds. I think every time we've got it, that's what we've used it for. But this would actually be pour in place like the city parks if you've been to any of them.
Okay. Any other questions? There is a recommended motion.
I move to approve Superintendent Kester to apply for the waste tire grant through KHDE.
I think that's supposed to be KDH.
That's what I thought, and that's why I had to say it twice, because I was like, I don't think that's right.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any other discussion or questions? No? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Up next is board policy, first read.
Sorry. Yep. So again, you've had these for several weeks at this point, but today is the official first read during the board meeting. I'll just quickly outline how this document works, just so that you have more knowledge as you look at these. These first few pages are the recommended changes to the policy and the rationale for the recommended revision, addition, or deletion. So typically when we see these in June, a lot of times over here on the side, you will see review and adopt to stay in line with legislative action or with new state law or something like that. Most of the time in December, when these come out in December, they are not tied to laws because there have not been new laws passed. Most of these are review and adopt if you prefer to review and adopt them at the time. So we've had the habit of doing this twice a year, and I think it's easier to do twice a year, just because you don't have so many to do at one time in that case. So everything within this document, I would ask you, I would make the recommendation if I were making it tonight, for you to approve the changes here with the exception of the AI policy. Again, I feel like it would tie our hands a little bit in some ways that I don't know that we really need to do at this point in time. But I will continue to review that over the next month as you review it over the next month, and actually have a recommendation for you at the next board meeting. Further down in the document, anywhere that you get to that is typed, any changes that are being suggested will be in color. So it'll either be struck through if it's being deleted, or it will be added in color like this. Again, these are all from KASB recommended, from their attorney group recommended changes. So we'll be happy to answer or try to answer any questions you may have tonight and or over the next month as we look to take action next month at the February board meeting.
Okay. Any other questions for Matt tonight on that? I would encourage you, if you have questions, to set up a meeting and meet with him so that you can go over those. Next up is CHS course catalog.
Same thing here. This will be in a PDF form instead of I guess they're both in PDF form, so they basically the same format. There's not explanations at the beginning of this, but changes you always see will be in color as you look through this document. Many of the changes this year are going to be because of CTE classes through the state changing the name of their classes again. And so when they do that, we try to keep those up. Graduation requirements have not changed since this was approved last year. So really just class changes. We did move from
math from integrated to AGA.
Right.
So you'll see a lot of color in there because they're changing the names back to Algebra 1, Geometry, Algebra 2.
Right. Substantial changes? Any other substantial changes?
Nothing major. Not really. I reviewed again this afternoon with high school administration. But as this is a first read, Mr. Murray is going to be here in the February meeting, so he'll be able to answer any questions specifically, and I'd be happy to try and answer some now, but the majority of them are really just name only. And there's obviously some formatting things in there as well, but content-wise, it's really just name only. Nothing major.
I can't remember,
Go ahead.
I can't remember where it was at, but at one point I felt like we were getting rid of all of our honors classes, but I can't.
Yes. No. They're being changed a little bit, just in math only. Due to some scheduling and due to the switching to AGA, they're proposing to pilot something different this year. Instead of having standalone honors algebra or honors geometry, having criteria that a student has to meet within a class to get that honors label. So it could be first hour, second hour, third hour, whatever class you happen to be in. If you're willing to do the work and do well enough on it, then you can earn that.
So essentially everybody's in honors math.
Has the
Whatever.
potential, there's gonna be, this is the criteria for the class, and you have to go
Right.
above and beyond to get the honors.
Gotcha.
How do the
Reasonings
teachers-
behind some of that is scheduling purposes. Instead of only having that 1 hour of honors, and that kind of hamstrings everyone that wants to take that, it opens up a little bit there. And some other schools have tried this, and they, in discussing it this year, the high school decided they wanted to try that for next year in math.
But does that mean every geometry class teacher has to teach a spectrum of kids, the general spectrum, and do honors content with all kids?
Possibly, yes. Now,
How do the teachers feel about that?
they're the ones that proposed it, and we really only have about maybe 2 teachers teaching a particular subject area. 2 teaching algebra 1 and 2 teaching geometry. So it's not that every single teacher is going to have multiple preps there. But it is it's new, definitely for us. So it'd be a bit of a change.
It makes me feel better if it's coming from the teachers.
Yes.
So we're not just foisting this on them.
And it might be too that if your expectation in the class, and there's kids in the class that are the expectation is this, we might have more kids that meet closer to the expectation of the other kids, just because these kids can do the content, they'll be pushed to. So I mean,
Experience says that.
Yeah, as
kids
you
are
raise
gonna
the
rise to
bar,
expectations.
then.
Is
the
there
kids-
any data on that, like your top performing math scores based on whether you have a dedicated honors class?
I don't have any answer for that right now. I can look into it.
Because I could equally see it going, this is the optimist, could go the other way, right? So now your classes are making sure that the core content is got by all students, and the leftover amount of time to differentiate
Waters it down.
for honor students just.
I think traditionally in honors programs, honors have almost always meant it's just a faster pace to get to the next class quicker, not necessarily a higher level of content. So as you go back to algebra, geometry, algebra, it really will mean that some kids will never take algebra 1 in high school because they've already taken it at the middle school, and they will go straight into geometry instead of going into honors 9, which would have just done geometry. I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's
Yeah, it
really
makes more
traditionally the
sense
way
to
that
me.
honors has worked. Because math is so sequential, you can't just go on to if you're going from geometry to algebra 2, then if you finish the geometry, you're going on to algebra 2. You're not going on to higher level geometry necessarily, because
It's not starting so
higher
far
level
back.
geometry becomes trigonometry. Can differ, yes, and for good and bad,
Yeah.
both ways, yeah. So.
When we had our enrollment meeting, what was that, last week? Yeah, Ms. Pugins made it sound like with the new curriculum, this would be better as well. Like it just flows better with
I think
with
that's
that.
part of where this idea and choices is coming from, is as our math, secondary math team has implemented a new curriculum this year. This is both a new curriculum and the first year having switched back to the geometry algebra 2 format. It's something they want to try next year.
And we don't have weighted grades, so kids who are taking regular math gets the same weight as honors math. So this might put a little bit more accountability on the students too. If they want to learn more, they will.
So if a student earns honors and we don't have weighted, they just get a little
On their grade card, it just
asterisk,
says honors.
honors, or
It'll say, their transcript would say they completed honors
Okay.
geometry
Got
instead
it.
of just geometry.
I forgot we don't do weighted.
Yeah. So it's
Okay.
Okay.
Other questions for tonight?
I would definitely make sure that if you do come up with questions and you can't get them answered in an email, schedule a meeting with Matt and sit down and be able to word vomit all your things. That way you can make sure you feel comfortable.
Any
before.
questions you have, we
Or
can
Tyler, too,
definitely
yeah.
get those answered either in email or at the next meeting.
Okay. Anything else? Thank you, Tyler and Matt. Okay.
Next one, I'm gonna turn over to Mr. Applegate as well, so.
Okay.
So, January is a great time to start thinking about the next calendar, right? Since we're just starting this year. But in
Mr.
reality,
Bruner's
we
here.
started talking about this back in November with our calendar committee. As you guys are aware, I believe the state statute says that you have to have adopted a calendar for the next year by March 1st. And so we have to do that by February in order to be in compliance. Obviously, it can be changed afterwards if needed to be, but we have to have one adopted by then. So we met in November with our committee, and that was made up of representatives from administration, teachers, CNEA had their negotiated agreement mandated reps on there. We met all the criteria. We had, I think, about 26 people from all the departments, classified and certified, and it was a good group. As they found out, and you guys may find out, there's just really not that much wiggle room with the school calendar. The first time anyone's on it, I was the same way. You come in thinking, oh man, we can really revolutionize this thing. And then you start looking at some of the requirements and just the dates, and you're like,
I've done that too.
we got a day or two here that we can play with. It's really, there's just no big wiggle room there. So the calendar before you is pretty much identical to this year, to our current calendar. This is the recommendation from the the only difference, if you will look at the dates, October 19th and January 18th. I gotta give a little bit of information here. Actually, if you scroll to where they can see May, Matt, as you can see there, the 18th, that orange date with the triangle, that's the last day of the school year, last day of students. That circle there on the 8th would be commencement, would be graduation. But traditionally, we have not had a day after the last day of students. We haven't had a professional development day. We haven't had more contract days. We've had what's been known as professional development, that was, which was, excuse me, I can't talk, was voluntary, but due to Summer Institute, funding for that has come from federal funds, Title II specifically, and with at the moment, the forecast of not getting those funds, our committee, just like every year, we've gotten very good feedback that Summer Institute is a great opportunity, a great time for staff to be able to do some of the things that we need to do to prepare for the next year. They wanted to make sure, and it was my recommendation as well, that we try some way to make sure that we have a couple of days there built in. So we pulled that October 19th PD day and the January 19th PD day and just turned those into days off completely and put those 2 days at the end of the year. We didn't lose any student days. We didn't lose any days off the overall calendar. We just moved them. We just moved them to the end. That way we would definitely have at least 2 days to do that work, that reflection, that looking at curriculum, all those things that we do during that time to make sure that we're in a best situations possible for the next school year. Obviously, it wasn't ideal for teaching staff who traditionally get, paid for volunteering to come in for those days. And as duly noted, everybody was in agreement on that, but everybody was also in agreement that it was probably the best plan to make sure that we had time to do that work, to move those mandated days, those contract days to the end. So this is a first read, so if you guys have any questions now, I'd be happy to try and answer them. If you want to come up with any over the next week or month, I'd be happy to answer them in February.
You had one student day, correct?
Just the way the calendar fell, we were able to add one student day back. If you look in the middle there, underneath the list of days, there's two rows there, and we have 185 days on the teacher contract, 170 days on for student days. Last year, I believe we were at this year we were at 169. So we did add one day back for student days.
Does the shift with the summer academy mean you lose 2 PD days
During the school year.
during the school year?
Which was not ideal either, because we had very good feedback this year so far, as having pretty much one day a month this year has been really good. Administration and staff have said it's been really good to be able to clear things up and plan and all the things that are done there, and doing that on a monthly basis. We would lose it in October there, and we would lose the date in January is traditionally our Ed Camp Day, which we're about ready to have next week. We've talked about the possibility of moving that to the February date if we wanted to continue having that, which I think we probably will. The October 19th date does create a 4-day weekend, so that's always nice for people. Nobody was too upset about that. But it wasn't an intention to do that when we went into the calendar committee. It just, when we started looking at dates to have to try and shift one to the end, that was one that came up.
And you may have just said this, but what happened to the funding for the Summer Institute where teachers used to get paid?
It's Title II funding, which is from the federal government, and they've already said that will not be coming next year. So.
It's the funding that they actually didn't pay out this July, and then turned around and did, but then said this, basically it's not in the new budget moving forward, so. Title II, Title IV, Title II, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4.
So we have it for this current year, but we are not forecasting
in future budgets.
So if the state paid for SPED and we had $1 million, we could take that money and put it back into PD and have the same amount as last year, just hypothetically?
Yeah, for
So
sure.
it's purely a cost.
Yeah.
So we could
We
find.
are also not getting any professional development reimbursement from the state this year. The state has also eliminated that. So no professional development reimbursement, no Title II, Title III, Title IV moving forward, which Title II has paid for 80% of our professional development for the last 25 years.
I'm sure people have thought about this, but would it make sense to see if there's a budget for the 2 PD days so we can keep it the same?
Well, I mean, yeah, it would make sense. It's a matter of, I don't know that, to take that $60,000 out of the budget somewhere and lose the $60,000 from the feds, is a $120,000 budget swing from somewhere, which would be not impossible, but certainly it could be potential. If that was the direction given, we could
start looking at that.
You can always find the money, you're just gonna cut it from somewhere else.
Yeah, that's just it. It's, the pot at the end of the day is still the same amount. You just have to determine what's the priority and more important.
We prioritize giving up, I'll just tell you, we prioritize giving up the PD days over giving up more student days. And that was important to us, was to say, hey, we don't want to give up more student days. If we have to give up PD, we give up PD. But if we roll the dice and don't put those 2 days in May, Summer Institute is legitimately where we prepare for the next year. And there is so much work that is done. Like this year at Summer Institute, we will be revisiting all of our essential outcomes in every single course content because of our expectation that next year we're going to deconstruct standards by unit, every single unit in every course. And so we have to identify those essential outcomes, and that's going to take days of work to do. And so the amount of work that we've done really good things on PD days this year. I would be the first to admit it's probably been our best year of PD that we've had since I've worked in this district. Partially because we have a monthly and partially because they've been intentional of what we've been doing. But still, with that said, I wouldn't give up any Summer Institute day for a PD day either.
No, my question was
Because-
to add the PD days
I
back,
get
not
it.
to.
Yeah, no, I get it. I'm just saying it was
Yeah.
not rolling the dice with Summer Institute though
Got
if you
it.
didn't have the
Okay.
money. Like we felt that was really important, and I think teachers feel it's really important. We do anticipate that we're gonna have to pay for that 21st, that we would have 3 days of Summer Institute. So we're gonna have to come up with that day of pay regardless, which is, probably $15,000 already that we're probably committed to.
When if we magically did get the money somewhere, then we would have to adjust their contract days. Because if you add 2 PD days, then they're now at 187 rather than
Well,
185.
Yeah, Summer Institute
So-
just becomes voluntary again
Right.
instead of mandatory at that point.
Yeah, if the funding was to come through, later in the year, if the government changed their mind, there's always the possibility of changing the calendar if you have to use it.
Which we should know at the end of this legislative session?
It's not in the federal bill, so I mean,
Yeah.
it's not in there, I can tell you that right now. Whether the federal government changes that, I don't know when we would know that, but,
Yeah.
but it's not in the
Wasn't a bill that
federal
took it
funding
out.
bill, I can tell you that. 2, 3, and 4 are gone, the only thing that's left is Title I, and it's gonna continue to get reduced, so.
Okay, any other? Oh, the calendar committee. You do. You think you're gonna go in and be like, it'll be so fun, we'll do all this stuff, and then you're like, wah, wah, wah.
We can actually do nothing.
Okay, moving on to approve naming of the FFA building, grounds and lab.
So again, I know that I've shared this with you a couple of times in my weekly updates, but tonight I would ask you to take action on these list naming rights of 3 different areas of the new animal center. So the first naming right would be to the Kepley Tennis family that you heard about earlier. That would be basically naming the complex. The reason that we came up with that is because they're the ones who donated the ground, so it would encompass the entire complex. The Cooper Animal Science Learning Center would be the building, and the Mitchell Animal Science Lab would be the inside classroom, essentially. These are the 4 large donors to the project that really, without any one of these people that you take them out, we don't have the project that we have. So, that's what the committee's recommendation was. The committee made the recommendation to me, so I'm bringing the recommendation to you. All naming rights have to go through the board, and so you have that final determination of whether you want to approve this or not to approve it. But as I said, the recommendation is to approve these naming rights for the Animal Science Center.
Okay. Any other questions, clarifications?
I think you have the drawings too. I didn't put them on here, I apologize for that, but of what the kind of the purpose for each of those.
Okay.
Can I make a little note before we make a motion?
Sure.
Just a little history. Some of you might know this, like Derek might know from being on the committee, but the Kepley tennis land is all still family land. The Kepleys are related to the Tennises, and that is their family's homestead. When they first came to Chanute, their homestead was that whole piece where the farm still is, and then the donated land. And so I just think it's really awesome that their legacy gets to, as a community, their FFA name. So
Yeah. Kind of interesting to see all that huge line of, it was the tennis family land. Related and involved.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So they bought family land, and then it all became.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay. Anybody want to make the motion?
You want to tell me what to say? Just that we approve the naming. Do you want me to name each of the? You want me me say
As
everything?
listed.
Yeah.
Okay.
I move to adopt.
I move to adopt the naming of the FFA grounds lab as the Kepley Tennis Agricultural Complex, the Cooper Animal Science Learning Center, and the Mitchell Animal Science Lab.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any other discussion or questions? All those in
We are
favor?
gonna change the
Spelling, yeah.
Yeah,
science.
on the
Good.
last science.
Yes.
Spell it correctly.
Yeah.
I just wanna make
Who
sure.
added
Adds
that
a
to the
little,
agenda?
kind of adds a little
Proves the need for
flair.
good schooling.
Come on, Linda.
the other.
Sisons.
Those in favor? Motion
be-
carries with the
We don't
spelling
need that
fix.
smoke.
To be clear, Tamara did not, I added. My mistake, not Tamara's, I just want to make that clear. I'll take that
It's a
one.
different type of lab.
It's a different, it's a Sisons.
Awesome.
Sisons lab.
Fantastic. Okay, board member comments. Who wants to start tonight? Matt, do you want to start tonight?
I can't spell.
Now, at your age.
That's why you can't spell. When you turn 50, you learn how to
Get
figure
your
out how to
glasses
spell.
on. Come on.
Okay.
Okay.
Man, I was thinking about this the last week or so, but it was like, I had some time on. It's like life is hectic, and then you get some time with your families, and it's just like, oh man, it went just when it started good. You like flip that switch, and it's basketball games and wrestling. I mean, it is just back at it, and so kudos to our teachers because, I just speaking for my kids, they were maybe I'm too hard. Boy, they were ready to school and get it. I just can't imagine, being a teacher because that is such what a wild environment. I'm sure the kids were just juiced up and ready to come back, and so anyways.
First, Jeremy.
I'm always amazed at the complexity of this organization and as I look at the mission, I look at the vision, everything that we discuss every month is just super focused on achieving those goals. So it's a wonderful thing.
Again, I always like to say how awesome our community is and our volunteers and all the people that help out. I mean, the millions of dollars that was poured, almost $4 million poured into our district that was just gifted. So, and people that work and volunteer to go to committee meetings and write the reports and go and talk to people about donating money and just do all the things that, none of us had to do. So it was all, we gotta do this part, and that was the part that they gotta give. So I don't know, I think our community is awesome, but go ahead.
This month, I am extra thankful for our school nursing staff and the amount of care that they take for a plethora of Band-Aids, ice packs, sore throat, to a lot more serious issues. And I've just been very, especially right now, because my kids are only at 2 buildings, those 2 buildings, nursing staff has just been really great. And so sometimes I feel like get a little thankless. Their job's kind of behind the scenes, but they've done a really awesome job. So just appreciate that.
My gratitude, and I'm sure everyone else's gratitude, for the community members who donated all of their money, time, effort to help out with the FFA building and the child care building. It's just really exciting to see a small town like ours, who we do have a lot of disparity in our town, but we also have a lot of generosity from the table, and I'm just always amazed by that kind of generosity. So.
I'd just go back to teachers and coaches being unsung heroes. I mean, I know a lot of teachers through everything I went through, and they're there constantly for the kids. Coaches, I mean, I've got coaches from other towns that have to come up and talk to me every time they see me. It's just not ours. It's all coaches and teachers. So, a lot of respect to them for me.
Heather, do you want to share anything?
I just like to piggyback. I'm grateful for the opportunity that we have in our district coming up soon with early childhood and the dedication of our community and Mr. Kester and the board with early childhood. I think it can really change the trajectory of a lot of our students. So I'm excited to see what all's going to happen. Yeah.
Mine's kind of in the same vein, but over Christmas break, I got to spend a lot of time with family, and a vast majority of my family and my wife's family are all educators. And so the conversation, no matter what gathering we're at, the conversation almost always turns to school at some point. I happen to be at this time, I'm the only administrator, and so they tend to pile on me, but that's not the point of the discussion. But I think sometimes it's easy for us to take for granted here in this community, because what we just saw here and what I hear from what's going on in other towns, communities, districts, we've got it pretty good. And I think sometimes, I've said this for years, if this is the only place you've ever been as a teacher, you probably don't know how good you've got it. Because I've been other places and I know people that have, and it's just, we have really good support, not only in all the donations and that, but also, as Derek was saying, the teachers coming back, we start with a PD day, and our building leaders do a great job. Brother and a sister who started back, fresh with kids right on day one, and they were all anxious about it, and they would have rather had it. And we offer that. We make it a soft start, and I think we do a good job of putting our staff in a position to succeed. And I think that's credit to you guys. Obviously, the support of the community with all the things that we get to offer and whatnot. So, yeah, it's just, we are blessed to be in the position we're in.
Tamara, you got anything to share? No.
Yeah, I don't want to say the same things as everybody else, but it's really kind of a dream come true of mine that we're moving forward with early childhood plans. And as I said in my email this morning to the district, my life's better than I ever deserved, and I'm fortunate to be here and work in this district, and to see this district become the best district in the state. It continues to be our goal, and something that I'm passionate that we're going to achieve. And so this is just another piece of that. And so, I just think I don't know, I couldn't imagine being in another place that's as good as this.
So I'm unashamedly going to say what everyone else has said. And my words are, I find it hard not to be proud of Chanute tonight. With the FFA building, but particularly with the early childhood education center. I read one study that said for every $1 that you put into early childhood education, it creates $6 more worth of value. So in case the millions that were already donated weren't enough, right, the impact of that is really heartwarming. And the second thing I'll say is just a big round of applause on the attendance numbers and what this group can do with some intention and healthy competition between buildings and a bit of data tracking. So 5% above national average is also worth noting. So well done.
Very true.
I'm sorry, Cassie, I would like to say that I worked with Jean. She was an amazing woman who was a single mother herself and spent years providing to women who didn't have as single parents. And so this will be a big thing.
Yeah.
To have her name on it.
That's amazing. I didn't know that. Thank you for sharing.
Will there be
that.
some mention of just the personality or some small thing donor in?
At the FFA building or the early learning
Yeah,
center?
any of the above. Just a very short narrative, like that little piece that you just shared. I think that's important.
Yeah.
I am not sure how that will be done. I don't know if it'll be done in pamphlets or giveaways or on a website
Yeah.
or whatever, but I'm sure it will be somewhere, yes,
Yeah,
in some
we
sort
certainly
of
need to
way.
think about that.
Yeah.
I'll just be honest with you, like the donation to the Early Childhood Center, Child Care Center, came with the stipulation that we do name it after them, and so I mean, I've already shared that with you, but I'll be bringing that back to you at some point as well. If we get to the point where we do get to move forward with this, because construction happens and that, we'll be bringing that back as well to provide that legacy to them as well.
You know, you think about what that money represents, that is their life. Yeah. I mean, that is, those dollars represent their every life and effort and what they were all about. It just is a very representation of them.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's huge.
It is. It is. Okay. Thank you all. We will move on to close executive session. There is a recommended motion there. If anybody wants to enjoy.
I move to go into closed executive session to discuss negotiations pursuant to the exception for employer-employee negotiations under COMA, inviting Superintendent Custer, Assistant Superintendent Burris, and Director Applegate, and return to open session in this room.
Let's do 10.
So 8:20.
8:20.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Actually,
you know,
I was
and
gonna have
welcome
to
to
go
the world. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, would you like a t-shirt
snacks.
or whatever?
Okay, we're gonna reconvene to open meeting to take any desired actions. There are none, so we're gonna move on to the next closed executive session.
I move to go into closed executive session to discuss resignations, retirements, employments, transfers, and non-elected personnel pursuant to the non-elected personnel exemption under COMA, inviting Superintendent Custer, Assistant Superintendent Burris, and Director Applegate, and to return to open session in this room in
5 minutes?
10 minutes?
10
10
minutes,
minutes?
which is
8:34.
8:34.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Beef sticks are getting hit hard.
Good day to be a good day.
I had a little bit more than a little, but I can't finish it.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, we're gonna reconvene to open meeting to take any desired actions that desired and or necessary, sorry. There is a recommended motion.
I move to approve the personnel report as presented in the agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the personnel report as presented in the agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion. Landon's not here, so.
Where's Landon?
I move to adjourn.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you all so much. Welcome, Steve.
Yes.
Thank you.
Hope that
You
was
survived.
fun.
You need to slip into
I
the
forgot my t-shirt.
I should do that every time.
You should do that every time. It would give us all comfort.
So we walk out knowing.
That's what mine is. Mine's in my other bag.
I'm ready. I'm here for the long.
Okay. Oh my God.
And speaking of